Welcome back to the channel. So before we begin, I'm going to start with a little story time. My parents actually came to this country from Sudan, meaning that my first language was Arabic. Growing up in the Bay Area, I initially learned Arabic and then I learned English. So when I started school, it led to some challenges. I had to learn English, and ironically, I lost my Arabic. One thing led to another, just side tangent. I ended up retaking it in college just because of pure interest. But the point I'm trying to make is that this led to me having like a really strange accent, and it affected my speech. I didn't speak confidently, mainly in elementary school, but it spanned throughout middle school. I slurred my words, I mumbled, and I had this strange accent that you really just couldn't identify. It came to the point where my teachers had suggested that I get a diagnosis for autism. They thought I potentially had autism, when it was really just my ineffective means of communication and my inability to speak confidently in front of people. One thing led to another, and I sought any means to improve my speech. Eventually, I got to high school and I accidentally got scouted into the speech and debate team. I went from being really reserved and unconfident in my speech to sometimes speaking in front of hundreds of people, competing nationally and statewide. So if I'm able to overcome these challenges, anyone can, right? This comes to the cusp of what the topic of this video is, which is the means, techniques, and strategies in my just journey in improving my speech to be able to communicate effectively, clearly, and concisely. Your speech and your confidence in your speech and the way you talk and how you talk, it affects everything in your life, right? Communication isn't doesn't just come down to what you explicitly say. A lot of it has to do with your body language, nonverbal cues, social cues, right? But when the world is becoming increasingly digital and remote, what is explicitly said carries a lot more value and it carries a lot more weight. So I'm going to talk a bit about some of the techniques that I've used throughout the years to improve my communication and improve my speech, and hopefully it's going to help whoever's watching this video. So the first point I want to make is breath control. Breath control is essential to have deliberate and clear speech. You want to start with controlled breathing. And if you look at the greatest examples of people like Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela, John F. Kennedy, they used powerful presence through breath control. Now, a simple technique you can use, and I learned this from my brief stint of substitute teaching, dealing with annoying kids, was a simple 4x4x4 breath control technique before I had to establish my presence in front of sometimes kids all the way from Oakland to San Jose, all parts of the Bay Area. I would do a simple inhale of 4 counts, hold in for 4 counts, then exhale for 4 counts. So it would be something like this. So I'd inhale, that allowed me to ground my mental state so that I can communicate a lot more effectively in front of any audience, right? It adds emphasis and it makes your words more impactful. It allows you to create a presence when you're speaking to people. And silence sometimes is superpower. It allows you it gives you the opportunity and it gives you the permission to create space for yourself and pauses for yourself when you're talking. Sometimes silence carries a lot more value and communicates much more than meaningless speech, right? Now, and if I'm looking away, I have basic talking points that I want to cover in the video. The next point I want to hit is simplicity. Simplicity in your language. Simplicity equates essentially to clarity, right? If you look at some of the greatest examples, again, Martin Luther King Jr., his speeches were powerful, but the language was simple. The message was clear. A simple rule of thumb that you want to cover that I think is invaluable is to explain topics when you have the intention of explaining something or conveying something to an audience or to an individual person. You want to explain it in a way that a 10-year-old can understand it, right? It's a popular saying, but it's so prevalent for a reason. Overcomplicating language reduces your confidence, and it just distracts the audience from your main point you want to communicate, right? If you're packing for a trip, you're not gonna get stuff that's non-essential. You're not gonna get boots, your raincoat. You're not gonna pack your entire wardrobe. You're just gonna put the things you actually need that are essential. And this applies to communication, to your speech, to what you want to convey when you're talking to an audience or when you're speaking to someone individually, right? Now, the next point, and this YouTube channel is a huge testimony to this next point, it's to record yourself. It's been a transformative and unintentional practice recording myself on a weekly basis for this YouTube channel, because you're able to see yourself in an objective standpoint and pinpoint some of the things that you kind of rely on when you're speaking, the filler words, your pacing, your tone, the ums, likes, pauses that you frequently use or infrequently use. And you're able to see your progress in real time. And that progress, it's addictive, right? Like I said, creating this YouTube channel has been incredibly beneficial for me in that way. I've gotten more comfortable with speaking to a camera because for those that haven't done it before, it's an incredibly awkward and just unintuitive experience. Uh, and you can start small. You don't need to record an entire 10 to 1 hour long podcast or videos or create a huge YouTube channel. Record voice memos, short voice memos. See yourself record videos and re-listen to those memos, and you could get comfortable with hearing yourself, and you could pinpoint, like I said, the kind of habits that you rely on that aren't really beneficial in your ability to communicate things more effectively. Next point is to learn from the greats, the greatest examples of orators in history. Malcolm X had this intense passion when he spoke, right? Mandela had this undeniable authority. JFK had this charisma, this indescribable charisma whenever he spoke to any audience. And someone like Michelle Obama had this kind of, oh, got the battery notification. Now my phone's going to die. So let's get this going. Michelle Obama had this kind of familiar warmth whenever you spoke, right? So just look at the examples of the greatest orators in history, and you'll notice habits that they have. And if you integrate those habits to yourself, it can only benefit you. Looking at specific things as well, like their pacing, their gestures, how they establish a connection with their audience from the get go. JFK, like I said, was undeniably great at this. You had this sense whenever you listen to his speeches that you knew him. And it just made the impact of what he was talking about much more effective, much more impactful. So the key takeaway to this point in listening and studying the greats is to be able to speak to your audience and not at your audience. It makes it more personable and relatable. And that's kind of my intention and my goal as far as the accessory kind of goal with this channel is to improve like in this area, right? So, as far as my final thoughts go, the main goal for me at least is to be able to speak authentically and not perfectly. No one is perfect. And depending on your goal, whether it is just to improve your ability to communicate things more effectively or to just be more confident in your speech, whatever it may be, the techniques that I outlined help me immensely. So hopefully it helps whoever is watching this video. And when you're speaking as a skill is a journey. It involves a lot of progress, a lot of hiccups, right? But it's progress over perfection. It's not something that you can master overnight. It's not something that I've even come close to mastering. I still have my own hiccups. But like I said, all these techniques help me. So maybe it can help whoever's watching this. Anyways, that's it for the video. Subscribe, like, comment, leave some of the techniques or strategies or just your own journey in this area in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. Reply, engage, and share your experiences. Anyways, go to the description in the bio. and a description of this video to access the free toolkit that I just established, newsletter. Look at the Calendly link as well if you want to book a session with me with some of the offerings that I detail in my channel bio. And that's pretty much it for the video. I'll catch you on the next one, and thanks for listening. All right, peace.